Hello guys, so we're gonna see an amazing game between ByuN spawning here as a blue Terran and his opponent Dark spawning as a red Zerg player in this corner of the map. This is a match from ESL Spring 2024, a recent premier tournament, and this game was really intense and just really entertaining in general. So both of these players didn't really need like a separate introduction or something like that, because well, ByuN he's probably not the best Terran in the world right now, because well, we have Maru, we have Oliveira, but still I would say that ByuN is very close to that rank, and he used to be the best Terran actually back in old days, and he also won the global finals in 2016 if I'm correct, against Dark specifically, so it was a really nice match to watch back in those old days. And ByuN is really well known for his impeccable microcontrol and his ability to use every single unit to its best potential, while Dark, on the other hand, is a very aggressive player as well, probably not on the micro side, because Zerg Race doesn't really have as many great micro tools as Terran Race has, but at the same time Dark is really known for his timing attacks, pushes, and just overall presence on the map, and just trying to force your opponent to play in a different way that he was supposed to play, right? So, but ByuN in this game is actually going for a proxy Rex first thing, and this is going to be a proxy Reaper, and this is a very nice strategy. That's something that ByuN was also very much infamous for, because he would utilize those Reapers so much that they got nerfed just because of him, and I think this is like the only case in StarCraft 2 history when a unit was nerfed because of one single player, because nobody except for ByuN was able to use them as efficiently as he did. So now they are not as strong, but still, in his hands, I would say it's a pretty big threat for Dark at the moment. But obviously he's gonna scout that. He sees this Rex on the natural. This is a separate wall that's not normally done, but when you play against Reapers, or rather when you play Reapers, it's always one thing that you do all the time. So Dark is now well aware that this is coming, and I think he's gonna be ready for that, because he's not doing anything greedy, anything crazy. Obviously, might lose a drone or two, might be in a bit of a troubles in the early game until he gets his queens, but in general, this is not like a death sentence to him, so I think he's gonna be fine. Making more links, just links, no drones at the moment, and queen's gonna be appearing soon, and now there's gonna be just slightly easier to defend this base. Right. But ByuN's hand still very nice micro control, trying to target those links, trying to target the queen. It's really low on HP right now, but I think it's gonna be kind of difficult to actually get that queen, because, well, Dark is obviously gonna be microing his heart out, so ByuN's ROACH is gonna be looking for other things like this drone that got fortunately stuck there. I think he was planning to plant that third base, but no, it wasn't gonna happen. Reapers are trying to jump, but this was actually a very nice trap by Dark, but none of the Reaper got caught, so that was really nice micro by ByuN as well. And now he's obviously transitioning to the next part of his build order, and this is gonna be just 2 additional command centers, which is a really nice call here, because obviously when you have Reapers you have nice map control, and also the Zerg player has to invest quite a lot of resources into those links, into those queens, and naturally the Zerg player is not gonna have a lot of gas, so there are not gonna be any roaches or bailings, and this is why you can safely transition into a really greedy economy. But at the same time, ByuN is also going to be losing those Reapers, very likely. Nice micro, nice grenades from the Reapers as well, but it doesn't feel like this is going to be enough actually. But maybe, wow, this is a really cool micro control by this Terran player, but still, getting quite a lot of links killed here, but feels like still, Dark is probably going to be able to chase them, and yeah, this is going to be the moment when he traps them, gets one more, and maybe those Reapers are actually going to be able to survive, but no, Dark is really persistent here, he just wants to get them. But they're already Hellions, so it's not a problem for ByuN. This unit is, well, pretty much replaceable at this stage of the game, to be honest. You don't really feel bad for losing those Reapers at this stage of the game, so it's fine, but that's still really good for Dark. He at least managed to do some scouting, he made sure that there is nothing crazy going on ByuN's side, but still, he needs to be aware that there is going to be a big late game or rather mid game transition with those command centers and mules, and Dark is picking his signature building. This is going to be roaches from that building, So pretty much what's gonna happen in this next couple of minutes, Dark is gonna be trying to pressure ByuN quite a lot with his roach attacks, and maybe he'll be adding some Banelinks. There was a time when this composition was pretty popular with just playing Banelinks, roaches and links. I wouldn't say this is the case anymore, and usually people still play Hydras rather than roaches because Hydras are just generally better, but at the same time they also cost more money, and it's a bit harder to max out on Hydras, like, you know, just earlier than Terran does his max out with Marines and all other units, so that's why I would say they are not really great for timing attacks, but roaches, they're kind of good with that thing, so this might be the case here, but we'll see. So far both players are just transitioning to a normal mid-game. ByuN is already taking his third base, just a bit later than Dark's base, but still he's gonna have mules, and he already mined quite heavily from that second expansion, and obviously now he needs to transition into Marines. ByuN is almost never really playing any mech playstyle, so this is very obvious he's gonna be doing something like this because his mecha control is just godlike, so makes sense. And there are quite a lot of roaches, but it feels like just a fake push, to be honest, because, well, there are only 10 roaches, they're not going to be doing much damage, but actually Steam is not done yet, so it will be really difficult to chase them away. You will not be able to actually catch them, so ByuN obviously aware of that, but yeah, it doesn't seem that he's actually scared of that roach presence. He was adding like a second bunker here, it feels like, but obviously that's something that he doesn't really need anymore, because, well, Steam is almost done, and there is going to be a lot of Marines and Medivacs and even tanks just later on in this game. And Dark needs to come up with a nice solution for what's going to be coming next in this match. So he's actually going for mass roach attack because he's making +1 upgrades. He has 67 workers at the moment. Would be really cool if he had 67 roaches instead. That would be really devastating for ByuN, but that's not the case. He still needs to spend some money and get this 200 supply of roaches. I would say he's really late with that timing, to be honest, because, well, you would like to have those roaches at maybe like minute 8, minute 9, but this is actually quite late, and you need some extra units to support them against a potential army of Marines and tanks. And actually ByuN is trying to commit here and trying to fight. Nice focus fire by Dark, and also there are some Queens as well in the army to shoot at the Medvacs, and doesn't feel like there is going to be just enough for ByuN. He should just go back and maybe find a better position. I think he should understand that there is something cooking for Dark, because, well, there is no fourth base. It doesn't feel like ByuN actually knows about that, but, well, this amount of roaches is already really suspicious, and ByuN needs to make sure that he manages to defend that base. Quite a lot of tanks already, and there's gonna be the third one very soon on the battlefield, and not so many Marines though at the same time, because ByuN committed quite a lot into infrastructure, into his economy, so now he needs to be extra careful. At the same time, Dark just keeps on making roaches, nothing but roaches, and this is gonna be really interesting. At the same time, there is also an Nidus network, so this is a really nice plan by this Zerg player. He's gonna be trying to split ByuN's forces on 2 fronts, and this is gonna be a big pain for Terran player, because now obviously if you take a look at the supplies, there is just so much for Dark at the moment, twice the army supply size, and ByuN at the same time, he also committed his resources to the 4th command center, so his economy is really great, but at the same time he needs to defend somehow at home against such a big attack from Dark. But luckily for ByuN, actually, he doesn't really have any production on the main base, so there's just nothing to lose, except for mining, of course, but, well, that's not really that terrible, to be honest. Well, yeah, you can just lose some mining, providing that you save your SCVs and providing that you keep on making units. At one point you're just gonna have a much better army, but he manages to fight here. I mean, Dark just initiates that fight and feels like ByuN is just losing too many SCVs. I'm not sure if that was actually a right call, but he has a lot of command centers and a lot of mana to actually replace those SCVs in use, so it's not a big deal. But still, Dark has a very scary presence on the map right now. He keeps on making roaches, only now transitioning to some drones, but it still feels to me that the damage has been not enough, to be honest. You know, you need to take down most of the Terran's economy, get down to like 20 SCVs or something like that, but so far ByuN has 4 command centers, 57 SCVs, and also a huge chunk of army, and also +2 upgrades. Just upgrade much is gonna be a big deal for the next fight that's gonna happen very soon. Dark also tries to commit here, but oh my god, those tank shots are just amazing. And yeah, still gonna get rid of those tanks, but well, at what cost, to be honest. It's been just too much damage done to Dark side, and I don't know, it feels like ByuN is in a really great position in this game. He's already trying to secure this fourth base at the same time, and Dark is just playing to evacuate from the location. This is a nice call actually, because well, obviously if he just decided to stay, he would probably lose all of those roaches, but this was a very nice call by him. So now he's gonna be just remaxing, which is happening just right now. He already has 200 supply, but I feel like roaches are not gonna be enough in the next fight, because yeah, when the fight first started, Dark just had a twice the army supply, and also at the same time ByuN didn't have the +2 upgrades. He also didn't have that many tanks, and now the situation is gonna be different. Also, there was this element of surprise because Dark was able to launch that Nidus attack on the main base, and this is not gonna be the case for the next battles. So he's in a really tough spot, to be honest, but he still can manage that if he adds some banelings or infestors, or just goes for the hive and then switches to ultra or something like that. The problem here is that he doesn't really have any melee upgrades, and this is not something that you wanna deal with in this situation. You know, your links are gonna be really useless, and same is somewhat true for banelings. So Dark instead is looking for Hydralisk, and this is interesting. Hydras with a combination with infestors is gonna be interesting to see, because this army composition is somewhat less powerful in a way, because well, you know, they don't really do that much damage, they don't really have that much AoE damage, and well, it's just not the same as banelings that can just evaporate Terran's army in a matter of seconds. But still, this is gonna be an interesting choice by him, and it kind of makes sense because of the upgrades. So this still can work, I would say, especially if there is gonna be a good fungal growth by infestors. But for now, Dark is gonna be on defense most likely. He already has tunneling close, so he's gonna be able to actually burrow and use his roaches offensively, and also maybe buy some extra time. This is really nice because now ByuN has to commit to turrets, which he already actually did, so it's not a problem for him anymore. But yeah, Dark just keeps on losing stuff here and there. Yeah, this army supply from ByuN's is really interesting. It's really massive. 120 and also +3 upgrades. Not so many tanks, only 4, but this is gonna be enough for the upcoming fight. Dark needs to pull a miracle here, but it feels like this is gonna be just one of the last engagements for this game. ByuN is just trying to go up this ramp, not really working out at the same time, trying to do some damage at home around Dark's hive, but this is going to be the final engagement for Dark. He's trying to apply all those balls straight to tanks, but this was actually a very nice engagement, to be honest. All the balls land on tanks, there are no more tanks on the battlefield, but Dark is also losing quite some roaches, 3 more tanks on the position here, and oh my god, those shots are landing perfectly. But still, ByuN is losing just too many marines here and too many tanks at the same time. This was not supposed to happen, to be honest, and it felt like ByuN's army was just so massive and so good, but Dark somehow managed to pull it off. So now ByuN is on defense once again. That was really unexpected, to be honest, because well, his army supply was just so much better, and still, I think his army was just slightly split. Should have tried to get together before actually committing to this big attack, and also there are no marauders in this army, so this is one small disadvantage that he still has, and Dark is trying to pull ByuN apart on every direction right now. There's gonna be a big roach run by on the main base, but at the same time there's a big attack happening around Dark's 4th base, and it seems that there is just not enough stuff to actually counter this big marine push. At the same time, a big attack here happening, but I feel like there is gonna be enough units from ByuN, but at the same time Dark is still trying to hold that position, and Hydras are just coming in this very crucial moment for his defense, and he actually manages to hold here, but at the same time he got 18 SCVs, which is quite a lot, and I wonder how he did it with just pure roaches. That's really great for Dark, because ByuN now has a very poor economy. He needs to be very careful with how he positions his next army, because it could be his last one. That battle actually goes terrible for ByuN as well, because he's losing so many resources, and it just looks like ByuN is slowly throwing this game away. Unfortunately for him, because he has such a nice lead, he still has just much better attack, he still has a much better army, but this Nidus Worm, there's this lack of scouting, and the last engagement everything went wrong for ByuN, unfortunately, so far. And feels like Dark finally found himself a way to make a proper comeback into this game. Still, he doesn't have any AoE damage, and this is a big problem for him, I would say, because, well, you need something to counter those massive chunks of Marines. He's gonna have some Vipers, though, and the Blinding Clouds could be really important in the next engagement, but it's not still same. It's not like the same as Banelings or Fungal Growth, so we'll see how it's gonna work out. So far, a very nice attack on the main base. Once again, also gonna get this Command Center. Oh my god, this is actually a big pickup if it's actually gonna happen, but no, ByuN actually pulls some SCVs and is just repairing that. And nice control by Dark, actually targeting those Marauders with his small but very elite and powerful army. But at the same time, a very good engagement here as well for ByuN's side. So this game is getting really scrappy and rusty. Both players are making so many mistakes, but I would say Dark is still in a much better spot right now, because he managed to establish his 4th base. It's up and running, and the same is true for the 5th base. And there's going to be this Reach Gazer taken very soon, which is extremely important for your gas-heavy units like Hydras or Vipers. So yeah, for ByuN, he needs to be extra careful. Also, this army is heavily damaged, so just shouldn't engage really. Should bring some medevacs, and he lost quite a lot of them, so he needs to replace them before it happens. But the healing is extremely important right now. He just needs to stay at home and just set a good defensive line. But those Nidus Swarm is such a pain for ByuN this whole game. Another Nidus attack. It's not gonna be that big this time. Probably gonna get rid of those Hydras really quickly. But oh my god, this Nidus Micro was also really sick, saving that bruised Hydra in the very last second. Really cool by Dark, and also doing some additional damage, just targeting those SCVs. And it seems like, even though like their supply difference is big, but we still have to pay attention to the actual army size, because army size, I would say they're pretty equal. And still, in my opinion, ByuN's army is just slightly better. Yes, he doesn't have that many tanks, he just needs something else, just besides Marines and Marauders. But usually this Zerg army loses a straight up engagement unless there's just a big advantage, or unless the Blinding Clouds are perfect. So you need to have Lurkers, or you need to have Infestors most of the time, especially if this is gonna be like a big 200 supply army fight. So what ByuN needs to do, he just needs to stay alive somehow. Oh my god, nice pulls from those Vipers, getting those tanks. And now ByuN is again overstretched all the time. I think he's just trying to defend from that Nidus network, that really annoying Nidus network. The only thing that he has to do is actually target that Overseer, just make one of Viking and get rid of that. But well, obviously he just needs to use the starport facilities for producing more medevacs, because this is the #1 priority. And he's also getting this 5th base, which is really nice. He now needs to make sure that he manages to evacuate, but at the same time he could also lose this 5th base for himself, right? So he needs to be extremely cautious with that. But this nice run by happening, getting so many Hydras and Roaches, and also probably this base as well. There are no Infestors on the battlefield, so there's just no way to stop this army of ByuN, and this is actually a perfect engagement for our Blue Terran player, getting so much stuff killed in this one battle. Links are being made right now, they're just doing some tanking. All those Marines are so much damaged, they need to go back. And what's really good for Dark is that he actually never lost those drones, so he can just retreat back, and he's actually going for the last push, it feels like, because he's just gathering all his force across the map. He's just trying to target this gold base. The gold base is obviously gonna go down, there's just no way he's gonna be able to save that. And this army is just so low on HP, he just cannot afford to fight here. He's also trying to chase away a different army from that side. I think this one is gonna be successful, but this battle here is not gonna work out for ByuN. Unfortunately, he's gonna lose every single unit there, and somewhat nice engagement happens here, but still losing just too much stuff. Feels like ByuN actually doesn't really have any economy going for him. Only 16 SCVs at the moment, and this is the last base where he just has to fight. He just cannot retreat back, and I think it's gonna be the last engagement if he loses that actually. But quite a lot of Marines, nice target fire by ByuN, but still doesn't seem to be enough, because there's just gonna be a big stream of units coming across different sides, and also using Burrow because there's not gonna be enough scans. But actually there's one, but still doesn't matter because Dark just has too much, and there's been an amazing comeback from Zerg, from the red Zerg player Dark, because He was so far behind, he had such a poor army the whole game, but still managed to pull it off. It's a really nice game by this Zerg player. And that's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot for watching and have a nice day. See you next time.